Hey, I'm Dr. Joe DeMarco, chiropractor and owner of OcraMed Health. Today, I'm talking with powerlifting legend, 73-year young Rudy Kadlub. Rudy's company, Kabuki Strength, located in Clackamas, Oregon, designs and manufactures strength training equipment, much of which is pretty unique stuff, such as their Duffalo bar and Cadillac bar. And they also do a various training education. We're going to talk all about that later. Hi, Rudy, and welcome to OcraMed Health Podcast. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Joe, pleasure to be here.
So one thing I found super interesting about you when I was doing my research was that despite having somewhere in the vicinity of 50 world powerlifting records, was that you didn't get started in powerlifting till you were about 55 years old, which is pretty amazing. Prior to that, were you training regularly? Were you in pretty good shape? Were you are you just naturally strong?
Well, I would fit the narrative of a lot of American males, I think. I was an athlete in college, played college football, and was actually a college football coach for about eight years following graduation. And I was around the weight room a lot back in those days, although the idea of a weight room has changed over the years. We're talking 50 some years ago when I was in college. The size of our weight room was the size of a small classroom that you would, if you could picture that today.
Sure.
Around the athletes for 8 years, I've always enjoyed lifting weights, but after I left coaching, got into the business world and fell into the same kind of, I wouldn't say rut, but a routine that a lot of men between mid-20s or even 30 to 50, mid-50s fall into. That is raising a family, trying to max out their careers, and finding time for yourself. It's always kind of gets put on the back burner. And we see that even with our facility today at the Kabuki Strength Lab. The folks that we see in person a lot fall in that late teens to early 30s. And then there's this big void between 30 years old and 50 plus. And it's just that so many people just don't have the time or don't make the time or priority. So I wasn't unlike that. Every January, and I'd start with honest, healthy goals for the year, New Year's resolution, if you will.
Yeah.
And that would last. You would go to the gym through January, maybe the second week of February, and then pretty soon, some cocktail party, that business thing you're supposed to go to, or kids games or whatever, and you fall out of it. And by March, you're not. It's not even a thought anymore. So. Yeah. I would say for 25.
I'm sorry. I was just going did you always feel like you were in shape though? I mean, did you when you weren't lifting back then, were you like, did you get heavy at one point, or were you just always kind of a fit guy?
No, I didn't gain weight. A lot of ex-athletes do gain weight when they get out of competition, because they have developed an appetite, but they don't burn as many calories.
Right.
But I would say it's fairly fit. I mean, they did a lot of weekend things like water skiing and snow skiing and such. So I wouldn't say I got totally out of shape. I wasn't strong by any comparison to where I am today.
Sure. Yeah. Which is actually kind of like my next question was that, I was looking over like your meet history, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you seem like you've stronger now than when you were in your 50s. I'm looking at your meet results, and like the weights are seem to be going up into your 60s, into your 70s. And, like in my chiropractic office, most of my patients that are over 60, I mean, it's like a physical effort for them to just get on and off my adjusting table. I mean, it's like they're grunting and moaning, just trying to move their bodies. And then you get a guy like you who's, on your 73rd birthday, you're deadlifting 523 pounds. I mean, most people, I think, can't wrap their heads around someone like you. You know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy stuff. And so, like, what do you attribute, like, your physical ability at 73? Like, what do you attribute it to? Is it like your mental, your mindset? Is it the way you just like train? Is it kind of like a combination of everything? But what do you attribute the fact that, you're doing what you're doing at your age and you're getting stronger?
Yeah, well, any result is a combination of a lot of things for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I would say that to add to that mix, I would say that the coaching that I have from my team
Yeah.
has enabled me to refine my technique in each of the lifts over time. So I may or may not be getting stronger, but I may just be getting better in terms of joint positioning and movement and such.
Yeah.
Although a little bit of his strength too.
Right.
But yeah, I get motivated by, beating myself. I mean, the next closest person in my division is, in a total is 250 pounds or something behind me.
Yeah.
So I have to compete against myself. And that kind of drives me, every time I go to and I usually only compete twice a year at the nationals and at the world championships. But each time I go out to compete, I want to do better than I did the previous time. So I gear my training, and my coaches gear my training with that goal in mind. Right. And so we might start at a little bit higher number for each training block as we go from 6 months to 6 months, meet to meet.
Sure. Yeah. I know powerlifting can be a lot of wear and tear on the body. I mean, you're lifting heavy weight, and I know you had mentioned that back in 2016, you had some work done on both shoulders. And I guess to avoid shoulder replacements, you used a procedure called an arthrosurface shoulder hemicap implant on both shoulders. I mean, amazingly, it looks like you came back the next year lifting heavy as ever again, which is incredible. But tell me a little bit about that whole procedure and what you went through, with those implants.
Yeah, that's a great question, Joe. And it's a good part of the story. And it's one where mature athletes ought to take heed in. When I started powerlifting, it was kind of a fluke. I got injured snow skiing, fell and landed on my shoulder. Thought it would heal within a month or 2 months. It was still nagging. So I go to my primary care guy, takes an x-ray, comes back in, he goes, you just got a little bursitis, you're just getting old. And my response to him was, F you.
I know, right? I hate that. I hate hearing that.
What do you mean? So he sent me to a physical therapist that was located in a little a boutique gym in my hometown here. And I got in the habit of going in there twice a week for PT. And then I go downstairs and pick up the weights and start lifting weights. And that of course happened in the late spring. So by the middle of the summer, my shoulder was feeling a lot better. I was kind of getting stronger and getting used to it. And my kids, for the most part, who were out of the nest, I have 5 kids, and everybody was pretty much gone now. So I could find a little bit more time for myself to start training and just kind of got into the habit of going again, and then seeing the results and just being persistent. Yeah. Progressive resistance training will result in hypertrophy and strength gains if you stick with it and you push it a little bit more, each time or each segment. Absolutely. So that next January 1st, I was sitting around watching the bowl games on TV, and I started wondering to myself what the bench press record was for the state of Oregon. And I figured it must be by, there'd be a weight class and an age class. Sure. And I looked it up and I thought, that doesn't seem out of reach. So the next day I went in to talk to the trainer at that little gym and told him that was my New Year's resolution, is I wanted to break the Oregon bench press record. And he said, well, if you're going to do that, you got to squat and deadlift. I go, what? He goes, yeah, that's part of powerlifting. I go, okay, well, let's get started. And so we started training and working on technique and such. And I entered my first competition that next November, 11 months later in California, and set all 4 California state records.
Oh, wow.
And came back and broke the Oregon record in about 8 or 9 months later. And then a year or two later, broke an American record. And then after that, broke the world record. But getting back to the question about the joint and the surgery. So from when I was 55, I must have been about, so I was 56 years old or so.
Okay.
Then 55, 56 years old. And by 2016, 8 or 9 or 10 years later of powerlifting, and back in those days, we were using geared powerlifting. So we were loading the body and the joints up with heavy weights. So
sure, yeah.
I was squatting 630 pounds or something, and bench pressing 475, and big numbers, but a lot of pressure on the joints.
Sure.
And the sport of powerlifting and weightlifting too uses a straight bar. Everyone knows what a barbell looks like. Everybody assumes that's the best thing to do. And of course, for the competitions, that's what you're required to do. But a straight bar is not friendly to the joints, and particularly the shoulder joints, either in for pressing movements, because a lot of times people will internally rotate or not properly externally rotate their arms. In squatting, you're putting extreme external rotation on to get your hands on the bar under load on your back.
Sure.
And over time, that is a lot of pressure on that glenohumeral joint. And so over those 9-10 years of heavy powerlifting, I was starting to wear out that joint. Cartilage was going away. I ended up bone on bone. And for 3 or 4 years, I kept going to my local orthopedic guy and asking, hey, what can you do about this? And we tried PRP and cortisone, other things, but only temporary relief.
Yeah.
And he said, ultimately you have to have a full shoulder replacement, but if you do that, you won't be able to powerlift anymore.
Weightlifting, yeah.
And I said, well, I'm not doing that. And in about year 4 of going back to him, he said, hey, I've heard about this new procedure. There's a doc at Cleveland Clinic, Anthony Miniacci, that is working on, has come up with a resurfacing. So literally what they do, instead of, it's all a little gruesome to think about a full shoulder replacement, because what they do is they cut the head of the humerus off and drive a titanium rod with a titanium ball on top of it. Looks like a giant golf tee, right? So it goes right down the middle of the bone, and that becomes the new ball part of it. But when you think about it, I mean, to get involved in contact sports, or you even fell off your bicycle, what's going to give first, the titanium rod or your bone? Right. So it's, it would not be healthy. That's why I'm not doing that. But in the Hemicap surgery, what they do is just kind of flatten out the top of the humerus and get rid of all the arthritic lumping and bumpy stuff, and literally glue and screw a half dome of titanium. So think about a lacrosse ball cut in half with a metal wood screw on it, and it goes into the bone. Right. And then on the glenoid process of the scapula, they inlay Teflon. And so the Teflon and titanium joint. And when I had heard about this and talked to the doc at the Cleveland Clinic, I said, well, would I be able to continue to lift? And he said, absolutely. He had a number of people that had been doing it successfully, getting back involved with MMA and other contact sports. So I said, sign me up. We did the first one in May of 2016, went back 6 months later to have the left one done in October of 16. And by May of 17, I was back on the platform competing.
Wow. Yeah. That was I researched that procedure. It's very interesting how they do that inlay into the glenoid fossa and then just the kind of almost like that cap. And I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Like as far as, I mean, a much better option than going in and, people don't realize when they do joint replacements, like I mean, like even just something that's like that's so common as a hip replacement, besides the fact that they're putting an artificial joint in, our whole ability to move as humans, like we need to have our brain communicating with our joints just for kinetic sense and things like that, especially if you're doing athletics. And you lose that when they put an artificial joint in. You don't have that proprioception between the brain and the joint anymore. And it's a big deal to put an artificial joint in. So anytime you can avoid an artificial joint going in, I mean, you're going to be so much better off. And it sounds like, I mean, that procedure worked out awesome for you.
Well, it has, because I mean, every meet since 2017, I've upped my numbers. So like I said, I compete twice a year. So since 17, that would be about whatever, 10 national or world competitions. And I've improved my numbers every time. Just an anecdote too. 10 days ago, I was back at the Cleveland Clinic to have surgery on the AC joint, which was arthritic, and he just cut back part of the bone to relieve and create some room in there, because I've been suffering with pain, again, getting under the bar or pressing movements for the last 3 or 4 years. And he went in and took out, he said, the biggest chunk of bone he's ever taken out of a AC joint. But the anecdote was, while he was there, he went in and looked inside the glenohumeral joint to check on the previous surgery to see if everything was still tight, nothing loosened up. And he said it looked like it was brand new. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
for people who are considering that, I mean, I've been post-surgery now for 6 years and have been stressing that joint on a regular basis with, heavy lifting. So,
Oh, sure. Yeah. Much more than, I mean, obviously the average person would be doing. So,
right.
so Rudy, tell me a little bit about, Kabuki strength. I mean, any new equipment come out? I love your stuff. I mean, the, Duffalo bar, the Cadillac bar, I mean, some really unique stuff that you guys are designing and putting out on the market. And I know Kabuki does a lot of, major league teams, football, basketball, baseball. You're working with colleges and universities, military bases. What can we expect? Anything new coming out from your company in the near future or right now that's come out that you'd like to discuss? Or
Well, I guess to explain a little bit of what those products are and why we've been successful. If we'd had these products when I started powerlifting, if these products existed and I'd been using them, I may not have ever had to have had surgery.
yeah, like the Duffalo bar, for example.
Right.
Yeah.
So my partner and I, we both were been successful powerlifters. He's the only human being who's ever successfully squatted 1,000 pounds for reps and deadlift 1,000 pounds for reps. He's about 30 years younger than I am, but nonetheless,
that's quite a feat.
And at a top weight of maybe 275. I mean, there have been people that have squatted or pulled over 1,000 pounds, but they're 350 to 400 pound, giants.
Oh yeah. I mean, when they set that the most recent deadlift record, what's his name, Thor? There, he was 450.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was weighing 450. He's only he was almost like a little more than double body weight. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So if we had these, and just because of our experience in powerlifting, so many powerlifters end up with shoulder issues, and we started messing around. And Chris Duffin, my partner, is an engineer, and he's kind of comes up with the thoughtful ideas of equipment. And the first thing we came up with, because we all had shoulder issues, was the shoulder rock, which is a loadable, adjustable mace. And when used properly, can open up the joints. It's great for mobility. It's great for strength. It's great for core stabilization and rooting. So it was a great tool. And we had always kind of joked about equipment, because when we first met, it was at a powerlifting meet, and we decided to train together. And we trained together for 3 or 4 years, and then one day had an idea of opening up a hobby powerlifting gym, which we did, and which we had for 4 or 5 years, and we were too cheap to buy equipment, so we kind of scavenged around from gyms that were going out of business, or made things. And some of the things we made, we thought were pretty cool. We joked about someday we ought to put this on the market and sell them. But he had his career in engineering, and I had my career in real estate and real estate development. So it remained a hobby from 2010 until 2015, which is when we introduced the shoulder rock to the marketplace, and it took off. And within 2 or 3 months, we were doing well enough that Chris could quit his day job and became our first employee. Yep. And then in August of 2015, we introduced the Duffalo bar, and the Duffalo bar was designed to initially as a squat bar. That's why it weighs 25 kilos. Was designed to reduce the stress on the bicep tendon and on the glenohumeral joint when squatting with load on your back. So instead of your hands having to get back tighter on a straight bar because of the angle of the bar, the way it drops down at a 10-degree angle, it relieves the pressure, and you can it's more comfortable to squat with that bar.
Yep.
So that led to, once we had that bar, we realized that the same curvature for different reasons, just the reach on the Duffalo bar put the shoulder joint in a more centrated position than a power bar would be, or a straight bar, and realized that it was much more comfortable to press with that curved bar. And ultimately, that led to us identifying needs in other areas with other bars that would become more biomechanically sound. A lot of it was our own thinking. A lot of it was feedback from customers. But the notion of a straight bar is that it simply is stressful for people. Now, if you're young and your joints are healthy and all that, you may not feel that pressure. You may have better mobility, but if you stay with that sport for any length of time, eventually it'll get you. So today I probably would have my original joints if I had started using and training with those more biomechanically sound bars. Right. Today I only train maybe 4 sessions a year on squat or bench with a straight bar. Other than that, maybe a couple weeks out from a meet, I'll go to a straight bar to acclimate, right. But with no loss of technique or such. So this year, I actually only got under a straight bar one time before the Nationals, which were 2 weeks ago tomorrow, right. And trained squat mostly with the transformer bar, which is our adjustable 24 setting bar that rests comfortably on the shoulders, on the padded shoulders, with curved handles to put your elbows at a 90 degree. And then the weight can be rotated around the axis. And so you can emulate everything from a hinge movement to a goblet squat. You can do a low bar, emulate a low bar, high bar back squat or front squat, or goblet squat. It's a phenomenal tool. And that tool is certainly our most popular tool. You mentioned Major League Sports. We actually are 30 for 30 in Major League Baseball. when we go out and demonstrate our products to professional strength and conditioning coaches,
Yeah.
It's not a tough sale. It's 5 minutes, and they go on and they go, "Oh my God, why did other people not think of this sooner?"
Right. Exactly.
So everybody does that, and in colleges too. The collegiate strength coaches, have a background; they get it. So we started there. We started with professional sports in colleges. On now going down to the garage gym, usually the home gym or the commercial gym market, they don't have as much access to professional strength and conditioning coaches. So a lot of folks think that these products are gimmicky. They see something that's different, and their high school coach taught them to weightlift with a straight bar, and that's what they believe to do. But until they start seeing that their idols in whatever sport they look at are utilizing these tools year round to preserve joint health, then we start seeing it more. But we're probably in more colleges in the country than we are in high schools.
Yeah.
Kind of for that reason is that, one of the reasons high schools can't afford as much equipment as colleges might, but I just don't think that they have enough, for the most part, enough availability to professional strength and conditioning coaches to recommend that to high school athletic directors or principals, that these would be healthy tools to use for your athletes. About many of our collegiate strength and conditioning coaches suggest that 60 to 70% of the high school kids that they recruit are broken by the time they get to college.
Oh yeah. I mean, look at the typical high school kid workout. It's all it is every day they go into the gym and they max out on bench press. I mean,
Right.
that's
And probably with the improper technique,
improper
their
technique.
elbows are flared out to the side, that
Exactly.
winging technique, that internal rotation, which is, I mean, it's death knell for your shoulder joint.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's yeah, you're right. That's why, I mean, a lot of those kids are probably broken by the time they get to college. So, but luckily they can get some good advice once they get to their college or university and get on some different equipment and get some good direction. Most kids in high school, I think, just work out on their own and they don't know any better. So,
Yeah.
but
So getting back to the Kabuki lineup, the transformer bar we just talked about, the Cadillac bar took the notion of the Duffalo bar with its curve. And by the way, the curve on the Duffalo bar for pressing purposes is great. There's an article out there I wrote a number of years ago about the Duffalo bar being the offensive lineman's best friend. Well, part of that is because of the shoulder preservation attributes of the bar, keeps the shoulders healthy, but you're bringing the bar down 2.5 inches deeper on your chest than you would with a straight bar.
right.
You're getting a greater training effect than you would with a straight bar. And for offensive and defensive linemen, I mean, they live in that
Sure. Yeah.
that area. So having that 2.5 inches of additional training effect is vital for them. So it's a big bar. So we took the notion of that and the concept of it, and we took you're probably familiar with a football bar, which is lateral bars with handles in between that are perpendicular to it. So we took that notion and we did a curve bar, a curved football bar, if you will. We call it the Cadillac bar, and the handles actually angle out a little bit more slightly as you go with a wider grip to emulate how the shoulder moves from proximate to distal position. And that has been a godsend for many people. I know one of our professional strength Major League Baseball coaches hadn't been able to press for 2 or 3 years, just the shoulder issues. And we said, well, just try this bar. And so he got down on the bench and pressed it and said, wow, that didn't hurt at all. And he said, put a plate on. So they put a plate on. And by then his assistant coaches were coming over because they know his condition. And they go, well, look at, he's pressing 135 pounds. And then pretty soon he's up to 2 plates, and he's pressing 2 plates, which he hadn't done in 3 or 4 years without any pain. And it's, you know, I mean, so that it's just like a light bulb goes on. So why in the world did we, you know, weren't people doing this
Yeah,
before?
why didn't people think of this before, right?
So, well, we're glad they didn't, and it's to our benefit. But our transformer bar, which is absolutely the best squat bar in the world, we just got our final patent for that in the last month or so, and it's definitely our most popular bar. We literally cannot build them fast enough. So there's always a long lead time on them. Even though we throw more and more resources at it, we sell out everything that we can possibly make, and then some. So
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have the open trap bar, which is by far the best product in that arena in the world. It's got adjustable high-low handles, adjustable width handles. You can bring the grip width or the shoulder width in from 23 inches to 25 to 20, go out as far as 27 inches for big-bodied athletes. And then, of course, the key thing is it has a built-in jack, so it's so easy to load and unload the weights. You think about a hex bar, you know, you have 2 or 3 plates on it, and you want to add a 4th plate. It takes, you know, 3 men in a truck to lift up one end of it. And your athlete, if your athlete's doing, he's already fatigued from previous sets, and then trying to load a bar. So this is great. It's a phenomenal bar.
I saw that on your website. I was like, I got to get one of those. It looked awesome.
Yeah. It is an awesome bar, and it's balanced in hand. It doesn't want to tip, so you can do your farmer's carries with it. You can obviously do your deadlifts and rows. I mean, there's numerous exercises that you can do with it. It's just great. And besides that, we're rounding out now. We do make a power bar. It's a great power bar for competition, and a great squat bar for competition. And what we think now is the world's best deadlift bar, PR deadlift bar. Those 3 bars are the official competition bars for the USPA, United States Powerlifting Association, which is, I believe, the largest powerlifting federation in the country now. So then we're coming out with more training bars. We'll be releasing a bar within the next month that will be more affordable than the power bar, but will be sturdy and have the great Kabuki knurling that people have come used to. And then by the end of the year, we're rounding out our ability to build racking, so we can be a full service company for someone that wants, whether it's a commercial or home gym, will be able to outfit the entire facility.
All right. Well, you know, Rudy, I could talk to you forever on this about everything. It's such a lot of interesting stuff. I'm going to leave underneath the bottom when we post this video up too afterwards, is that I'll leave the website for Kabuki Strength. I'll leave your Kabuki Strength Instagram account underneath also. And so if people want to check all these things out, they can, you know. And I want to thank you for being, you know, so patient at the beginning. I know we had some technical issues. I really appreciate your patience, and it's been great chatting with you. I think everyone's enjoyed it. I don't think we have a lot of questions that came in because we got started so late, but I'm going to be reposting this, and people can be chiming in, asking questions once this is on my, you know, YouTube channel. So
yeah, well, let me know if you want to get together to answer questions or such. But you should also check out, I know you mentioned that one of your specialties is fascial release. So we produce a lot of body tempering tools, if you will, soft tissue massage tools. The Mile Rock is a great one for massage therapists, but check out the Boomstick and the Pain Pill and the Geisha and those, because that's something you may want to have in your arsenal.
Yeah, I'll definitely take a look at it. So, well, thanks again. I appreciate you coming on. It's been great talking to you, and best of luck to you and in upcoming competitions, and best of luck to your company.
Thanks very much, Joe.
All right, Rudy, take care. Have a great day. All right.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye.